Okay, so you can see a spreadsheet. Good morning again. And so we have talked about what? We have talked about as of now portfolio risk, right? What is portfolio risk, by the way? How do you know that? We have talked about, I think we started discussion on unsystematic and systematic risk, correct? How did you go to portfolio risk for that? Anyone? Anyone? Please go ahead. No one is there. Pratyush Kumar Swine. Any idea about portfolio risk?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Pratyush, are you speaking something?
Yes, sir. So there was a term beta, means a greater deviation in beta results in a
Oh, that is
greater
beta
risk.
is for the particular asset or portfolio, but I'm talking about what do we mean a portfolio risk? How do you measure that? What is the inputs required for portfolio risk? Risk of a
Inputs.
portfolio.
Uh, uh, so there was a row for is correlation between two stocks and the risk associated with it.
Very good. So one is that for a portfolio risk, portfolio is a combination of financial assets. For portfolio risk, we need the individual assets risk, okay, and also we need the relations between the pair of variables, pair of assets. So if you have three assets portfolio A, B, C, so we need the portfolio weights for A, B, C. We need the portfolio standard deviation risk of each ABC return. We also need the correlation and covariance between return of A and B, B and C, and C and A. So these are the things which are required, and with that we can always find out the portfolio risk. Okay,
So,
and yeah.
but sir, covariance is just the linear relationship between two variables. What if we have a non-linear relationship between two variables and the covariance turns out to be zero, but still it's, there's some relationship. So would that mean that the portfolio risk, we assume those investments to be independent of each other?
As far as this particular coverage is concerned, we are focusing on Marquez portfolio theory. Okay, so in that case, we are taking a linear risk, a linear relationship as such. Okay, so non-linear relations, etc. We are not focusing on this aspect, right? Yes, if you are assuming the risk to be a non-linear, then entire theory can change. So Marquez portfolio theory may not be valid as such.
Okay, yes, sir, got it, got it.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so that because that is a risk and return is a very big subject. Only a lot of things are there. Okay, so as of now we are talking about the simple versions as such. We are talking about portfolio theory where you are assuming there is a relationship as such. If there is no relationship, you should not go for portfolio as such. That is the underlying assumption as such. Okay, so coming back to the point. So if you want to have the portfolio risk with that weightages given, standard deviation, etc. given, then you can apply that for particular formula and find out the portfolio risk. Okay, now to quickly recapitulate, if I take an example of a stock, let's say A, B and C, then you have weightage, let's say 0.20, 0.40, and let's say another how much? Okay, 0.40. Then we need to have standard deviation of, let's say, return of A. Right. Then we have standard deviation, let's say 0.18, 0.20, and 0.25. Okay, these are all percentage. Then we have the correlation. Okay, so correlation coefficient, let's say A and B is 1.2, sorry 1.2, 1.2 is correct, to right? Why 1.2 was wrong? Anyone? Anyone, please tell me.
Sir, it has to be between -1 and +1.
-1 and +1. Right. Very good. So 0.6, let's say. Sorry. So now how do I go about? Can somebody give a formula with Excel? Please tell me, how do I go about portfolio risk? Tell me the cell reference. Yes. Somebody should start. What is the formula? Portfolio risk, let's say standard deviation here in variance. Nobody is able to do that. Very bad. So first we take what? Weight of individual asset into again individual asset, right? W1 square into, okay, I can directly take to square itself to the power 2 into standard deviation of that particular stock to the power 2, right? Plus similarly I do it for this into to the power 2 plus this power 2. Okay, sorry, not plus, it is into. I copy here. No problem. So plus this into the power 2 into, sorry, this into, no, this to the power 2 into standard deviation of C to the power 2, right? Any error, please let me know. If I am typing any error, please find it out. Please let me know. Then what do we do? 2 into the correlation between A and B, let's 0.8 into weight of A into weight of B into standard deviation of A into standard deviation of B, right? Correct? So again plus 2 into correlation between B and C into standard deviation of B, sorry, weight of B into weight of C into standard deviation of B into standard deviation of C, right? One can always give me a shortcut for this. I'll be happy about that. Into 2 into correlation between C and A into weight of C into weight of A into standard deviation of C into standard deviation of A. I hope I have typed everything correctly. So that gives me 0.03782 is portfolio risk, that is in variance, that is percentage square. So now what is my portfolio risk in terms of standard deviation? I just take what? I just take the square root. That gives me 19.45%. Okay. Any doubt? So if you have like that, if you have multiple assets in the portfolio, you can always go for that. Any doubt at this point? No doubt. Okay. So portfolio risk is this, portfolio standard deviation is this, in terms of standard deviation risk is this. Now we go to, let's go to an exercise. From there we will talk about different concepts also. So there we talked about something unsystematic and systematic risk. Okay. What is unsystematic risk? Now you see here the standard deviation of, if you are investing 100% in C, your risk will be 0.25. But by diversifying to portfolio, three asset portfolio, you could reduce your portfolio from 0.25 to 19.45. But even if you go for more and more assets in the portfolio, you cannot diversify the risk to 0 assets. Okay, so there will be some risk still involved in the portfolio. That risk which cannot be diversified by expanding our portfolio is called non-diversifiable risk or systematic risk. So systematic risk, the example it could be that, can somebody tell me what is systematic risk example? Anyone? Any risk which affects all the stocks in the portfolio or in the market for that matter. So that means if you switch from one stock to another stock, that risk will still be there. Can anybody give an example of that?
COVID pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic is one example. Recession, economic condition, okay, industrial policy changes, tax policy changes, right? Yes, anyone else? Somebody was saying some more point?
All other macroeconomic factors.
Pardon?
Macroeconomic factors.
All macroeconomic factors. Very good. So RBI changes the interest rate. So that is something is not in the control of the company or the stock or the management. Okay, so some risk can be industry specific also. Some risk will be economic specific. Okay, but change in the management, change in CEO, change in product, introduction new technology, these things something are in the control of the company itself. So if there is any variation in return because of them, they could be what? Diversifiable risk, because maybe you can change the company and go to some other company stock also. So that way you can try to diversify the risk as such. Okay. So we talked about systematic and unsystematic risk. Let's take an example here. That let me take the exercise. This is this one, right? So can you see this? Please go through this one. Systematic versus unsystematic. There are some data about stock 1 and 2, and market risk premium is 7%. Risk free is 5%. Which stock has the most systematic risk? Which stock has the unsystematic risk? Okay. So now for systematic risk that we have discussed in the last class, I think, I remember, I hope I have discussed something like beta. Can somebody rectify? Yes, I have discussed or not? Beta, I discussed now. We give two example of beta and say which is more risky, which is less risky. Yes, I have discussed that. Okay. So beta, how do you get the beta, by the way? How do you get beta? Not get, I'll say calculate. How do you do that? Okay. So by regressing the returns of the stock and returns of the market, that means stock return is dependent variable and market is the independent variable, we can find the beta of a particular stock as such. Okay. Then what we do, we extend this beta by applying something called capital asset pricing model. Okay. Where you say that return on a particular stock is equal to a function of two things. One is minimum return called risk-free rate of return, I is RF, plus okay, beta I can type here on Excel into risk premium. Okay, what is risk premium? Risk premium is equal to what? Market return less risk free rate of return. Okay, now it is a very beautiful model in capital asset pricing model. Return on a particular investment, a stock or whatever that may be, is function of two things. One is that if you don't bear any risk, how much return you expect, this is risk free rate of return. And second is that you need a reward for the risk borne as such. So that way that gives risk premium. So risk premium is nothing but return on the market minus risk free rate of return. So you cannot find out, actually ideally return on the market is the entire market portfolio, all the stocks involved in the market as such, but we cannot do that. So what we do, we take a proxy called index, let's say BSE Sensex or Nifty or something like that, to as a substitute as a proxy for the market as such. Okay, so market return less risk free return is gives a risk premium as such, and beta talks about the risk of the asset. Higher the beta, higher the risk, and higher the beta, higher the risk means higher the risk premium. So if I say risk premium and what is the risk premium, we talked about market return minus risk free rate of return. Now my question is that how do you find market rate of return? Anyone? What is market rate of return from this point of view? How much you should take? Yes, Dhruv, you want to say something? Yes, anyone? One way is to find out that you find out the change in the market index. Let's say yesterday it was 1000, today has been 1050. That means there is a 5% return as such. But that is not the way to find out the expected rate of return from a applying CAPM as such. What we should do as such, we should take the overall long-term growth that has happened in the market. Let's say in the last 10 years, how much growth has taken place in Sensex or Nifty. So that's compounded annual growth rate can be taken as the market rate of return. Okay, for the particularly for the purpose of estimating return for the particular asset called a stock. Let's say CAPM helps you find out the return for a particular asset. Okay, now so in that case we can take 16 to 17% as 15 to 16% as the return on the market. Similarly, how do you know what is the risk free rate of return? Risk free rate of return could be taken as one simple method could be take the State Bank of India fixed deposit rate, long-term fixed deposit rate, okay, which could be around 6-7%, 7% as such. So assuming that, or you can take the treasury bond, treasury bill yield, or take Government of India long-term security, a 10-year bond yield, which could be let's say 5-7%, whatever that may be. So that you take. So let's say I assume market return as 15% and risk free return as 7%. What is my risk premium then? What is the risk premium? If 15% is market rate of return and risk free rate of return is 7%, what is my risk premium then? No one? 15% is a market rate of return and risk free rate of return is 7%. What is my risk premium then?
8%.
8%, 15 minus 7, 8%. Okay, so that's what we can do as such. Now with this particular formula, sometimes we may be given RF and risk premium, a return, and you find beta. Sometimes you may be given RF, beta, and risk premium, and you find RI as such. Okay, so can anybody tell me why it is called pricing? Capital asset pricing model. Why it's called pricing? What is that you are pricing here? Price means a value, right?
Yes, sir.
So is it costly or not costly? Look at the value. But in case of investment assets, pricing is the rate of return. Like in the loan, there is a loan pricing. What is loan pricing? pricing of a loan. So what will be that?
So like what is the interest rate charged on the loan?
Interest rate. So return is the pricing here as well. So with the capital asset price application, capital asset pricing model, we can find out the expected rate of return from for a particular asset or portfolio investment, whatever that may be as such. It's a generic formula. Okay, and this capital asset pricing model also has been questioned. Here again you are finding out linear relation, as Abhyukta suggesting here also. We are also assuming that return of a particular stock or investment is a function of only market return and the risk-free rate of return. Nothing else is there. But there are extension of this theory called, we have got a theory called arbitrage pricing theory, APT model, where they talk about no, return on a particular stock could be a function of different things. Different things could be fundamentals of the company, fundamentals of the economy, industry, etc., etc. So multiple factors can affect the return on a particular stock, which is a multi-factor model, which is also known as arbitrage pricing theory as such. Anyway, so APT we are not beyond the scope of our particular subject as of now, because we have several other topics to cover also. So we will focus on capital asset pricing model. Okay, so let's go back to this particular 13.26 and something more you can also find out here. Some other concept which is hidden there, you can also discuss here. Let's go to that. So what it talks about, how do you go? What is this? It says market risk premium is given 7%. Okay, let me see. So MRP is 7%. Then RF, risk-free rate of return, is how much? 4%. Very good. Then it says which stock has the most systematic risk, which one has the most unsystematic risk, and which stock is riskier. So how do you know that? Which stock is more systematic, which is more unsystematic risk? Acha. So can you find a return now?
Yes.
Return?
11.
How much? 11%. Sorry, market risk premium is 7%. Okay, 11%. How do you do that? 11% return on the market. 11% return on the market. Premium plus risk free. My mistake. Return of the particular stock I and II. How do I know that? Yes. I can do some product, na?
Yes, sir.
Some product this, comma, some product this, right? So 15.9%. Similarly, sorry, this one for this one. Then I again do the sum product. This and this. So this is my return. 15.9% versus 9.15% for both the stock. Okay. Now, can I find out the beta? Can I find out the
Yes,
can I find the standard deviation of both the stock? Can I do that? I can do that, na? How do I do that? Here, can I apply some product? Can I apply?
I don't think so.
You can, I think. Let's see. Try some product. You can. I have never did it earlier. This, then this, then
but we
again
can directly calculate the beta, right? But we can directly calculate the beta from CAPM.
No, I am
to
talking
compare
standard
the
deviation here. I am talking standard deviation.
Okay, sir. What?
Can I find the standard deviation applying some product or not? Standard deviation formula is what? In a stock? Probability into standard deviation square, na? Sorry, this is variance. Sorry. Then I do the under root. Sorry, I can.
Sir, I had a question. If stock 1, let's say the
No, just a minute. Is there any mistake in the calculation?
Sir, don't we need to subtract that expected return from everything?
No. Why? Oh, right. Sorry. I was just doing some trial and error. I was getting recorded also. That's great. Sorry. Yeah. So let's go to that. Let's find out. So I can do in tabular format. It's better. To the power 2, na? Tell me.
Yes, sir, to the power 2.
But it would multiply also, na? Then you can apply some product, I think, na?
After subtracting, so first we'll subtract, then multiply with probability, I think, and then add and divide by 3.
Then?
So first we will subtract. So 0.15 minus 15.9.
That
Then
we did here into the square also. We did there.
Yes.
And that will multiply the probability.
Yeah. Now we can do sum product.
That's what I'm saying. All of you please note, because this will be, if you apply this, it will be easy for you to calculate in Excel. That is the purpose here. I don't know whether it's correct or not. Right.
Now I think we will divide by 3 or 2 also.
No, it is not. Divide by frequency. Frequency is 1, na?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Probability, na?
Frequency is 1.
Frequency
Yes,
is 1.
Yes, sir.
Here you just
Probability
take the
1.
square root only. Square root.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me do also for this one. So let me first take the deviation from the return. Sorry, return minus this. Sorry, not this one. This minus average to the power 2. Let me freeze this one. Okay, this one. Then I can do the sum product. That is weight of the portfolio, and this one. I hope everybody has. Why am I doing sum product? Everybody has followed. If somebody has not followed, please let me know that. So you will see here 7.87% versus there might be there might be some error here.
Sir, square root for the second one.
Right. Square. Okay. So if you go by standard deviation, which is more risky? Which stock is more risky?
Stock 2 is more risky.
18.90%. Correct? Okay. So then now we go to systematic risk. So systematic risk will do in terms of beta. This is beta. So what is the beta then? You have been given market risk premium, you have been given risk per return, you have been also given return. So with that, can we find beta or not? Beta is nothing but what? But that means 15.90% is equal to 4% plus, if I have to write that, I can write here 15.90% is equal to 4% RF plus beta into 7%, let's say, right? So we can solve for beta now. So what is my beta then? Beta is nothing but risk that you are getting, the risk premium divided by what? Yes, anyone can tell me the formula in the Excel spreadsheet? 15.90% is equal to 4% plus beta into 7%. That means my beta is how much? 15.9 minus 4 whole divided 7, correct na? 15.9 minus 4% divided by 7%. Correct? What happened? Are you with me? So beta is this one. Okay. Similarly for this, how much will be beta? 9.15% is equal to 4% plus beta into 7%. So 9 beta is equal to, can I drag this? Can I drag this? No, na? I cannot. Okay. 0.74. So as far as systematic risk is concerned, which is more risky? This one. So which particular stock has more unsystematic risk then? Yes, anyone?
Sir, can you repeat?
Systematic risk is high in case of which one?
Sir,
First one.
First one. So unsystematic is likely to be more in case second one, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is the way one can find out the, is it indirect way of getting the beta. So what is this particular ratio talking about? Can somebody tell me? What the risk talk? It is
So
talking
covariance,
about?
covariance upon variance.
Covariance variance, no. Covariance variance we cannot, of course, covariance variance is the formula, but here you cannot exactly
Yes.
say calculate this covariance here. Yes, beta is covariance to variance, no doubt about that.
Yes.
Anything else it talks
It
about?
how risky the stock is as compared to the market. If the market is considered at 1, beta at 1, so like how risky it is. Like for example, if the market goes up by like X%, so the beta goes up by 1.7x,
But beta
something like
stock
that.
goes up by 1.7%,
So the stock goes up by 1.7, yes.
whereas it is 0.74 as.
So like if it's 7.74, then if the market goes up by X, then the stock goes up by 0.74x.
Right. Similarly, the market goes down by 0.1%, stock will also go down by 0.74%. So that way,
Yes.
0.74 is less risky compared to 1.70. Okay. And also, just a minute. Beta also talks about the reward to risk ratio, reward to risk. Okay. So beta is high, the reward to risk will be higher. The reward to risk is given risk premium. So the beta is high, multiply that, so you get higher return as such. Yeah, anything? Anyone? Somebody was saying something?
Yes, sir. Sir, I don't understand why beta represents only the systematic risk. How did we isolate systematic risk from unsystematic risk in our example?
Here you cannot do, you don't have, you need the correlation between these two things as such. Okay, you need that. Otherwise, if you have the correlation coefficient between two, let's say return on the stock and return on the market, okay, then R square you can take. Let's say I think we discussed in the last class. You are not there, I think. So if I total risk is given, whatever percent is given, and you know the correlation coefficient. Let's say correlation coefficient between market and stock is, let's say, 0.7. What does it mean? How much of the risk is systematic? How much the risk is unsystematic? Systematic means we're talking about here the risk is of risk that is only because of market. That is my systematic risk. Okay, system means market here, right? That is one assumption here. If you do not believe that, then we can go further about that. So one thing is that yes, systematic risk is dependent on my market. Okay. Now what do we do here? Because your question was to find a segregate as such. You have standard deviation in the portfolio.
So you have 1 second. So like,
Yeah.
how did you find the column O and P? How did you find them? Can you just explain that once again? What exactly are the column O and column P?
I'll come to that. Just a minute. I'll just do that. Please give me 1 minute time. Let me clarify Avvik's point, then I go back. So if my question is that
Yes, yes.
standard deviation is the total risk of the particular stock or whatever that may be, whatever is given. Now, between two series, that is one is market, another is stock, the correlation coefficient 0.7. Okay, what does it mean? What is 0.7 meaning? Yes, one meaning is that a little high positive correlation. When market is going up, both of them are positive related. We are not talking, correlation doesn't talk about dependent and independent variable. Correlation talks about the association between two variables, irrespective of dependent and not dependent. Okay, so both of them, how they go together, correlation talks about that only. Please keep that in mind. Correlation does not talk about dependence and independent variable, dependent and independent variable. It just talks about what, how do they vary with each other. Okay, now then we define here which is dependent, which is independent. So here define dependent is definitely stock return and independent is market return. So 0.7 is your correlation coefficient. Now my question is that whatever variation is there in the stock, how much of that is explained by the variation in the return market? That is my question. I had talked about that, but we discussed this in the last class also. Can somebody tell me? 0.7 is the correlation coefficient. My question is that how much of the variation in the return in the stock is explained by the variation in the market rate of return, market return?
0.7 squared.
0.7 square. So 0.49 or 49% of the variation is explained by the market. So if total risk is given to you, take 49% of that as systematic risk, 51% of that you take as unsystematic risk. Okay.
Okay, so in our example, did we calculate both of those things?
No, we did not have the correlation coefficient not given in the exercise.
Then how did we answer the question which stock has the most systematic risk and which has the most unsystematic risk?
The one which has more unsystematic risk will have a less systematic risk.
Okay.
By that argument.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So unless you are given the correlation coefficient, you cannot do that. Now maybe you can find out the correlation coefficient also given data. Please try to find out. Here, if you can find out, try to find it out. Do you have any way to find out the correlation coefficient with given data? If you have, then you can find it out.
I don't think so, because for correlation coefficient, we'd also need the market performance data.
We do not have here. We have only 3 series data of 2 stocks. We do not have the market one. And we can assume that also here, right?
But I think there's some extra information, which is the market risk premium is 7%. So this 7% number might signify some correlation between.
Let us not hypothesize here. In the absent data, let us not hypothesize.
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Yeah, somebody was asking, some question was there. I think who was that? Amur.
Yes, sir. Like, can
Amur,
you like, yes, sir. Can you explain what column O is exactly? I think I didn't follow that.
column 4 or you say column name, column O.
Column 1, column P. Like, what are they exactly?
It is nothing but your standard deviation calculation.
So what, like, so what are we doing here exactly? Like, that's
We took the deviation from the mean and squared it.
okay, got it. Okay, got it.
M5 is the variable observation and M8 is your mean. So observation minus mean to the power 2. Okay.
Then we took the standard deviation.
And then multiply with respective probability, that gives you some product. You did that. We have took some product to the square root. Okay. Now for okay, so that's what instead of going for multiple steps, I did in one step itself by using some product and taking the square root. That you should do actually. All of you should do that because you have very less time in disposal.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So let me go to another exercise 13.7. 17, sorry. I was to talk about security market line. I don't know, I have time. Okay, let's see. Okay. Asset W has an expect return of 11.8%, beta 1.15, RF is 3.7. Okay, can somebody tell me what is the return is given? Okay, RF is given, beta is given. What is missing? You are supposed to get the portfolio beta. Okay, when different weights are assigned to that asset W. What is the portfolio it is talking about? You have certain percent asset W and rest of the money is in risk-free asset. By the way, portfolio beta, if you are giving the individual beta, portfolio beta is weighted average beta of stocks in the portfolio or investments in the portfolio. Okay, right? So now you have a portfolio of asset W and risk-free asset. What is the beta of a risk-free asset? What is the beta of a risk-free asset?
0.
0. There is no risk means beta will be, it is nothing, it will not vary, it will remain constant. Risk means that is the risk-free asset. Whatever the market happens, nothing will happen to them, right? Return remains like that only because there is no risk asset. Return varies as per the risk here. There is no risk, so no variation. So beta is going to be 0, a smiley. If it is blackboard, I would have written a smiley there. Okay. Now, can somebody generalize what is the beta of the portfolio here? What will be the beta of the portfolio then? Beta is given as how much? Beta is given how much? 1.15. Then RF is given how much? 3.7%. Then what is else? Expected return is given as how much? 11.8%. Okay. So can I find out the portfolio beta?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So it will be percentage of asset W into beta.
So percentage into return on the stock, that is how much? 11.8. 11.8 is what? Expected return.
Sir, but we are only calculating the portfolio beta. So why are we multiplying by 11.8?
Sorry, this is return actually. So it will be effectively what? The beta will be then?
Sir, L3 into the
1 minus
1.15.
1 minus A, right? Because it will be 0, beta of the asset, risk-free asset is 0. So 0 into percentage of the asset risk-free, how much risk-free asset then?
Sir, 1 minus 0% is the risk-free asset. So
Asset.
1 minus 0 into 0 plus 0% into the beta.
Right. Okay. So effectively what happens then? Is nothing but, because the weighted component beta, so the component for risk-free asset is 0. So final remains what? Your risky asset into weight of that. So I can directly do that now. Into beta will be how much? 0%. So not 0%. This is not sorry. This is what happened. Why it become percentage? 1.15. Let me take somewhere here. Okay. All of you please follow. If I have to do that, beta of a risk-free asset is 0 into weight of the risk-free asset is nothing but 1 minus risk in the asset, this one, plus beta of this particular stock is 1.15 into weight of the asset. So obviously in this case it's going to be 0. Okay. So right. Now effectively what is happening? This particular thing is becoming 0 for all the series, etc. So finally what remains is the beta of the particular stock into weight of the particular stock. That remains here. So I can generalize here. So that we can do now. No need to write, just for explanation I this one, I don't no need to do that. So if I drag it and I freeze this one, that is your R2. If I freeze it, so I got beta of this one. Okay. What is my portfolio return then? How do I know that? This percentage into return on this asset, that is where is the return? 11 point plus 1 minus this percentage is your asset return in, sorry, investment in your risk-free return into RF. So which one? What is that? I have to freeze here. R4 has to frozen or not? Yes.
Yes, sir.
R3 has to frozen.
And R3.
Right. Then I can drag that. So 3.7% to 18.85%. Okay.
So for the last, it's like over 100%. We have shorted the.
No, I was about to clear that. Sorted long, I'll not talk about those things here. I'll give a simple explanation of that. How is that you can have a portfolio of more than 100% in one of the asset? That means you are actually borrowing at risk-free return 25% and investing that amount in your what? In the risky asset. That is called 125% portfolio asset in asset. That means 125% if the portfolio, if the weighted assets in W, that means minus 25% is the weight in the risk-free return. Minus 25% means you are borrowing at 3.7% from risk-free return and investing that money in this particular stock. How much you can do, that is something else. But that is the implication of this 125%, 150% weightage assets. Okay, because total percentage weights cannot be more than 100%. What has happened?
So, but it practically makes no sense, right, to short a risk-free asset.
No, practically means it is possible or not. That is point. If
Yeah, it is
somebody
possible.
can lend you, somebody
Yeah,
can lend you at 3.7%, as a RF, then you can go for it.
Yes, sir, but like practically it's possible, but like nobody would do it, like mostly.
I think
If
Amar,
practically is possible and beneficial, why one shouldn't go for it?
So like why would I like so I think why would anyone want to short a risk-free asset?
Why one shouldn't go for it?
So like
It's
I mean it's
practically possible and it's going to benefit also. Why don't you go for it?
but it's high, like the risk is very high.
No,
This-
that's what. See, these are all expected rate of return. As a borrower, you will honor the obligation. But when you invest, your all investment can become zero also, right? You are expecting 11.8%, but actual return can be less, it can be more also, na?
Yes, sir.
If it becomes very less, what will happen? This is a very risky proposition. No doubt about that.
Yes,
It is
correct.
practically possible. If it is beneficial,
Yes,
you do it.
yes, sir, it's obviously practically possible. I was just saying like in the real world it's very risky. That's
But
what
it
I'm
is
saying.
sensible. It is sensible or not. That depends the person who is investing.
Yes, exactly.
sir, I think maybe there's slight. Amar was talking about shorting a risk-free asset, but Amar, here we aren't shorting any asset. We are just leveraging the money which we already have. There's no shorting going on.
Yeah, we are borrowing at that rate and we are investing it in the asset. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Ah, so not shorting it.
It indirectly means the same thing.
Not
Class in my mind.
Yes.
Okay. Right? I know all of you what Amur and Abhyuk they are saying, they are not saying something very extraordinary. All of you, I am telling you, all of you, if you just read something more, you will be able to answer like this only. It's a matter of interest. You have not gone to that, so they have already read that. That is the only difference as such. Not that they are extraordinarily bright and you are not, others are not bright. Let me put it very straight also. Okay, Amur and Abhyuk don't mind me saying like that. Okay. Anyway, that's good. And what I did here, I plotted this portfolio of beta and portfolio return. And is straight line or curve? It is straight line or curve? Nobody is saying.
the straight line.
Actually, what happened? I plotted both of them or what?
You plotted beta and portfolio expected return.
Actually, one of them should be there only. Portfolio beta should not have been in the. Okay, I did a mistake. This is not required actually. Oh. Okay, anyway, time is off, so I'll show that in the next tomorrow's class. Whatever I've discussed till now, we'll be covering in tomorrow's quiz. Okay. I may discuss something more that is otherwise. Okay. Tomorrow in the quiz will be in the start of the class. Is it okay? Start or end? What do you require?
Sir,
Which is better?
End, sir.
End is
End.
better. Okay, end will do. No problem. So when the class is going on, I'll tell you the quiz started or something. You'll get a pop-up that time. Okay? Okay, no problem. Chalo, bye. See you. So in that case, if I may cover something initially about risk return, and that will be part of the quiz also. Okay? Fresh discussion.